We're live. Don't say anything you don't want on tape.
Evening, everybody. Just past 7 o'clock. Go ahead and get this meeting started. This is our first session of town meeting for town of Newfield. So everyone can please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, for those of you that don't know, the public officials that are here this evening, Sue McKinnon, our town clerk and tax collector. Next to Sue, Jackie Solani, one of our select folks, select persons. Next to Jackie is Michael Sununu. Next to Michael is Obi Harmon. Tom Morgan is one of our supervisors of the checklist, who has checked you in for voting this evening. Thank you guys for all you do for the town, all you do in your time. Much appreciated. My name's John Hayden, for those of you who don't know me. I'm going to be your moderator this evening. Tonight, we're going to read through the warrant. We're going to discuss, possibly amend each of the warrant articles that will then be placed onto the official ballot, which will be voted on at the second session of the town meeting, which happens to be this year, the 14th of March. We'll be voting all day from 8 in the morning until 7 in the evening, and then the polls will be here at the town hall. So my role tonight really is just to fairly organize the meeting regularly, help folks get through the process if needed. If you have any questions, you'd like to speak to an article, in particular, I just ask that you raise your hand, wait until I recognize, and then at that time, state your name, and then followed by your question or comments with regard to the article. All speakers, please be courteous, and remarks should be confined to the merits of the pending question, if at all possible. Everyone who wishes to vote at this meeting, if we have an amendment or something that requires a vote, needs to be a registered voter of the town of Newfield, and should have checked in with Tom and received a voter card, which is what we'll be using this evening to vote. If we do have a vote, I'll ask for a show of hands, in favor or against, and we'll tally up and have a determination. There is a process. I always let folks know if folks are uncomfortable with the hand ballot, you can do what's known as a secret ballot or a paper ballot vote. It just requires that 5 of you in the audience sign a piece of paper and bring it up to me and state that you want to Priority 1 is a stormwater infrastructure project. And it reads as follows. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $329,500 for the repair and improvement of the stormwater infrastructure on Summer and Pleasant Streets, to be funded by up to $155,900 in loans from the New Hampshire Clean Water State Revolving Fund, which may be forgiven, $100,000 from the December 31st, 2022 fund balance, and the remainder, $73,600 from general taxation. This is recommended by the Select Board 3-0 and will require a 3/5 ballot vote. And I'm going to ask, before we get into a lot of discussion about it, to have Bill Reserve sort of give you folks a quick rundown on what this is and why we're doing this ability.
It's good. Thank you.
I'm
going to pass around some pictures. It's just one set of pictures to give people an idea of what we're talking about doing down there. You know, I'm a 23-year member of the planning board, and one of the things we've always run into in town was the lack of mapping of water, sewer, and stormwater, especially stormwater. So about 4 years ago, we applied for an asset management grant, and we got it from the state. We have now mapped out water, sewer, and drainage. There's still a couple of holes we're running. But it's given us a lot of information, and we need asset management. What asset management is a map of all these systems, but also gives us condition of the system, where things need to be repaired. As a result of that, we came up with 4, we call them areas that needed to be addressed. And the 4 are this project, this was number 1 priority, removing, taking care of the flows that come off the parking lot right out here in town, in the town hall parking lot. There's some deteriorated piping down on Depot, Hilton Avenue, and then there's also a major pipe that runs through the back between Co-Ed and, I don't know, the other, Newberry, the old store, Peace and Water, that needs some repair. We've heard about that today. So, through this, we got this going that we needed to get some work on this. At the same time, Newfields entered the Great Bay General Permit. And the Great Bay General Permit is all the towns that have a wastewater plant in Great Bay, there are 12 towns, 13 wastewater plants, what's the next 2, signed on to the permit. And it's an integrated permit. What an integrated permit is that the EPA is saying we're going to monitor your discharge from your wastewater plant, and we're also going to consider the discharge that your stormwater is putting out. And so it's an integrated grant. EPA said to towns, you can do what you want, and you don't do anything, but in the end, if we don't see improvements, it's possible that the plant would have to be further restricted, which would be very impossible to fix it out. So it's the general gist of the integrated plans and stormwater side is eliminating impervious space of surfaces. And I think just a good, or taking what the flows that come on that site and treating them. I think a good example, you can go up behind the new Irving station, everything that leaves that comes on that site is treated out back. So that's what these systems are looking at. So we really have to be cognizant of our impervious surfaces. Fortunately, Newfields has had, so we're in really good shape as far as regulations. So I think the planning board put in, with help of Concom years ago, some really good setbacks from rivers, setbacks from wetlands. We have a strong, open space commitment in town. And we have a really good stormwater regulation that requires developers to treat and to minimize flows. They can't put anything off site and it has to be treated. We have 6 or 7 that have already, we've had that in place since 2013. So we have these 2 things going on. So out of this system on the Great Virginia permit, each town in the watershed got a rating where the town hotspots are, which EPA is looking at us to reduce or treat that impervious flows. And the new fields are so small. Our big one is the school, the fire station, the town hall, the library, and water sewers. So we looked at where can we get some money. So this one will address flows for both the fire station and part of the school. I think just the entryway. That's when we do the planning study, we'll see how much treatment we're going to get. I think Brian could speak to the whole problem over on Pleasant Summer. The flows come out, it runs 800 feet down to a catch basin. The road deteriorates. There's, we think there's a lot of mosquito problems. It's a major salted area because it gets heavy ice down there. The big trucks going in. So it's on our priority, something to do. Part of this effort will be a planning phase and what we think, conceptually, I have a background in engineering, stormwater, wastewater, clean water, that we're going to infiltrate. So we're going to take that flow out of the system, put it somewhere down there, there's some opportunities, and treat it, and it will go out of the system. The town will get a major kind of plus on a great major permit on that. So as far as, I'm just saying the planning phase, and the other hopeful thing that this does is that deteriorating pipe that could be costly, that's out between co-ed. It takes the flows from Summer Street through the parking lot out to the river. That it may help us in eliminating some flows from that, which would help the future cost of repairing that, which I think is going to be not great, but it would help it. So that's what this one's all about.
Any questions from folks about Article 1?
Yes, but question, $100,000 from the fund balance.
Yes.
Which fund are we talking about?
So the town has an undesignated fund balance that accumulates basically from any residual unspent money that we budgeted for, but we didn't spend up to in prior years. It's typically utilized to adjust the tax rate and tweak the tax rate at the end of the year. Currently, the town's undesignated fund balance, it's required to be between 5% and 17% of our total operating budget by statute. We are up near around 14%, so we're in a comfortable position for the most part. The fund balance is about $1 million or so, plus or minus. Right.
Thank you. Of course. Any other questions regarding Article 1? All right, I'll ask that Article 1 be moved to the ballot as read. Article 2 is the town operating budget. Shall the town of Newfields raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $1,959,728. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $1,898,962, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town of Newfields or by law. Or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Select Board recommends the $1,959,728 as set forth on said budget.
Sure. We'll kick it off here. You should have the budget as one of your handouts. It's basically in the form that we usually see, broken down by our general categories. We'll go through kind of the general categories in one moment. I will point out, though, that most of the increases on the budget really have to do with one of two things. Either personnel costs, which, given the inflationary environment, we try to maintain our personnel in town and increase pay. The second thing was typically items that were going to cost more, salt for the roads, expectations on fuel oil, and the like. And so those were the major components of the increases. We tried to be a little more aggressive than typical in identifying areas that we were willing to cut or to eliminate and put up for a vote, and those are some of the warrant articles that you'll see coming up. But overall, we tried to keep this to what we thought was a reasonable increase year over year. So with that, we'll work through the general categories for questions or that anyone may have. The first item up is the general government category. This covers most of the town office activities, legal expenses, general government buildings, some of the commission planning, cemeteries, and other general government functions. Any questions on the general government section? No? Great, making it easy. The next section is public safety, police, ambulance, fire, emergency management. Any questions about any of those lines? Following on is highways and streets. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bessie, sorry about that.
I thought somebody would point out $100,000 increase in the police budget and break it down. I hope.
Sure, I'll comment on that, and Chief can weigh in as well. So the year-over-year differences, the big change was last year, for the most part, we did not have a full-time chief of police. We were also short-staffed for personnel last year. We have increased to a full police force. We now have a chief, which is typically more expensive than not having a chief. In addition to that, we had increases in salaries for personnel, mainly to keep personnel on our police force. We were probably one of the few police forces around right now that is fully staffed, because every town around is poaching everybody else's police officers. And so recognizing the need or the need to basically keep our police force, we had salary increases in healthcare and the like, which drove pretty much everything in that line. But Chief, is there anything else that you want to add to that?
I think you explained it quite well. If anybody wants any more detail, you can go further.
I don't know if anyone from the fire department wants to talk about the increase too.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I mean, generally, it shows the increase in the fire department. Last year we used ARPA funds, about $60,000 worth of ARPA funds to offset our payroll and our costs. This year, it looks like they're not using any ARPA funds, so the cost goes back to the department, which is an increase. I think we increased about $14,000 this year. Again, everything else, our fuels, our heat, everything is just skyrocketing. We kept our budget down as low as we possibly could. So, I mean, we've stayed pretty level for many years, and it's just an unfortunate increase, but it has to be there.
I want to take my moderator hat off for 1 second. Last year, Chief, we discussed the whole sort of phasing in of the on-call.
So last year, if most of you people were here last year, we put on an on-call pay rate for individual calls and to be on duty. So you have the opportunity to sign up for 12-hour shifts. in town. It pays $90 a shift. People can stay at their house, but they have to come to calls. It helped, I'm not gonna say dramatically, it helped. It's got us a lot more people responding to calls. It's not the cure-all. I wish it was, but it's not. I mean, if we could gain some new members, as you see every year, we're asking for members. We have not gotten new members. You know, there's 17, 18, a lot of people live in this town, and we're winnowing down to a very few. You know, under normal people who respond to all the calls were under 10. You know, and we used to be in the high 20s, the 30s. So, I mean, until we can get some people to join the department, we're hoping that this pay-per-call works and continues to work. It did kind of kick some of our young people, help them out a little bit to get out of bed in the middle of the night because they get some money. So it has helped. It's not the cure-all, and I don't know how long that will last.
What's the price per call? You said it was 90 per shift, and then what is?
$35 for a call, and $20 if they go to training or something like that. It's $25. And if they're on shift, they don't sign up. If they're on shift, they don't pay the pay per call thing. It's just a shift due.
Oh, okay, so it's not
No.
it's not a double pay.
No, it's not no.
So then do you have people on shift? So are you saying like if you don't have people on shift, if a call goes out, that's like, I guess I'm kind of.
If there's nobody on shift, well, as I say, a call takes more than 2 or 3 people anyway. So if nobody's on shift, if nobody signs up for shift, there's still people who go to the calls. But they may not have been able to sign up for a 12-hour shift. Maybe they were busy the first half of the night or the first half of the day. So they'll just come to the call and get paid. And in some instances, like, the storms we've had, I mean, this past month and a half, 2 months, we've had a lot of calls, So, some of the young guys have figured out that they don't sign up for duty, and they make more than $90 in the day calls, For instance, we have 6, 7, 8 calls a day, with the last storm, the ice storm, the freeze up this week, can be a lot of calls during the day.
Are you finding that you're getting new people on the force, or are you?
0.
Okay, so this isn't helping recruit new people, it's just maintaining our.
No, and everybody's out there looking for ways to recruit. We put it out there, if anybody's interested, I mean, they can give us a ring and we can get them set up. So it has not brought on any new people. But it's got some of our people that to attend more calls than they would have in the past.
Any more questions on the public safety section? Yep.
Just to follow up to that, with the, since we used the ARPA funds for the increase in costs last year, with the fire department in particular, thinking that next year it wouldn't be as much of an increase, it would just be, if anything, I know you can't anticipate, but.
Probably not, but you gotta base it on how many calls we're getting.
Yeah.
I really don't ever deny anybody, I try to hold it at 3 people on shift at a time. And as if we get new members and stuff like that available during the day, it's gonna cost us more money and we'll have to adjust it as we go. But it's still, option two is gonna cost the town a lot more money, if you had to hire full-time staff. It's a lot more. And not only that, to hire new people would be almost impossible, because it's just not going to be enough time.
Any other questions? All right, next section is highways and streets. This is for paving, snow plowing, salting the roads, maintaining the stormwater system that our road agent does for us. Any questions? Yeah,
In explanation for the increase in street light, I remember a couple years ago we installed newer lighting. I thought I remember just because, while it might be an investment, ultimately it was cost less.
Yep.
Is this more investing in new lights? Or?
It was in anticipation of higher electricity rates more than anything else. We don't anticipate that we're going to spend all of that, but recognizing that electricity rates have gone up substantially year over year,
Sure.
almost doubling, the line item is a little larger.
Okay.
As you can see in the actual expenditures last year, before the high rates kicked in, we were running about $4,500 for that. So it's more of a just in case, given the change in electricity rates.
Yeah. But it's not replacing any lights or anything?
No, nothing like that. No, as you noted, we did that several years ago. They've been working great. The LED streetlights have been working great, so there's no anticipation that we need to do anything with those.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions on highways and streets? Next item is sanitation. This is our trash collection, our recycling, solid waste cleanup days, and the tipping fees. I will note that one of the items here, under solid waste cleanup, the budget dropped from $5,500 prior year to $1,000. That's because we are planning to not do a spring cleanup where we have people bring stuff to the wastewater treatment plant. Again, looking for any ways that we can save a little money this year, given the increase here. But otherwise, you'll probably note that, certainly compared to prior years when we were running a lot higher for our trash collection and our recycling, the numbers are basically stabilized. We now have Elm doing the trash and recycling, and they're doing it very, very cost effectively for us. It's worked out fairly well. Yeah, that's it.
I just wonder if there's any interest in having the annual cleanup. If anybody in this room would want to see it put back.
That's what we're here for.
I should that would. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Understood.
Yeah, I know.
Hang on, go ahead.
Terry Cook, Delaware River Road. It looks like you're saving money in all these other categories, and I don't see why you would cut that out. You're just asking for the city to do junk. If people don't have a way to get rid of this stuff, allow some trucks to haul it away, you're just asking for more problems. It doesn't make sense to me.
Again, we were looking for, ways that we could save money here. And trying to identify that. This was one item that we discussed and that was appropriate. But again, this is a deliberative session.
Hang on, right?
I just had a question about the fees associated with that, because I thought, maybe I'm mixing up the different various cleanups, but I thought there was a fee to participate. Is that the Exeter one?
No, that's the Exeter one. And that's the, they take oils and paints down there, which we don't take.
This is just a...
Yeah, this is the one at the wastewater treatment plant where everybody can basically bring stuff that they can't put curbside. And then we get charged a per ton fee for having it all the way. The town does.
Okay, so it depends on what
The total tonnage is, correct.
Bill?
How much are we talking? Is it the $5,500?
Yeah, it's about $4,500 or so, something on that order, and that we've had in the past.
Do we know that with the new company though? Because do they even have the roll-off service that way to anything?
Actually, we asked Elm if they would do that, and they said yes, they'll provide trucks similar to what Waste Management did. Yeah. It's actually in the contract.
Jeff?
Isn't anything that we collect down there, that anything we could dump off the market dump anyways?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much anything that goes there, somebody could take over to Newmarket and, you know, pay whatever it is the guy charges at the gate to drop off there, yeah.
And realistically, when we had it last May, the participation was very low.
Surprisingly low last time.
Very low,
Yeah.
compared to, every year it's gotten lower, lower, lower. And last year was surprisingly low.
Bobby?
But to that point, is there a cost other than people's time to have it? And so if there was low participation, it might not necessarily cost.
So you have to pay for the trash guys, you gotta pay for, yeah, my guys that stand down and load the dumpsters and pack the dumpsters. And so there is a cost.
Just so I understand, the actual cost was $18.41 last year, is what the town actually spent, it looks like?
No, we actually, I don't think it's embedded in that line, because typically it's cost us about $4,000. My guess is that ended up in the disposal line or one of the other lines with respect to that. But we went back through, typically it runs us, you know, on a tip fee basis of the tonnage collected in the cost, somewhere around that $4,000, which is the differential between the prior year appropriation and this year's. That $1,000 in there, correct me if I'm wrong, so that $1,000 is for the fees to allow us to participate in the Exeter,
The
Yeah.
household hazardous waste.
the hazardous waste in Exeter.
$900,
Mhm.
and then this wasn't all of the cleanup, the tipping fees were in a different line.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Are there any other options, like a curbside day where we could reduce some of the costs of what we have and make participation easier? Is this kind of the only option for that kind of option?
There's nothing outside of the possibility of a spring cleanup. There's nothing in our contract with Elm at this point in time, so I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm gonna move that line be amended to 4,500.
So I think what the process will be is that we can amend the overall budget number with the recommendation that the Board of Selectmen would
You're right.
add that 45.
Goes to the bottom line.
Yeah, the only, just so everyone understands, the only item, because it's posted, is the operating budget and that overall number. So what Betsy's looking to do is make a motion to amend the overall budget number up by whatever amount she's going to say, and then we'll have a discussion and a vote on that. And if she adds to her motion that it is with the recommendation that the Board of Selectmen utilize that excess money to go to the sanitation line, item 4325 for spring cleanup, then we'll trust that the Board will do so accordingly. So, Betsy, did you want to make a motion?
I'm sure you will.
Do you need a specific figure?
It's your motion, so
I came up with 4,500 because of.
So you want to add 4,500 to the 1,900,000?
Oh, no, I was going to be 4,500 total, so you.
$2,659.
Total, I see.
Then
Bring that to 4,500. She wants to take this line and add.
Right, it's $1,000 right
She
now.
wants to. She wants to.
You want a total of 4,500, so you want to add 3,500. She's adding 3,500 to the line, to the bottom line. Yes.
Seconded by Lynn. I was looking at the wrong one.
So Betsy, what you're asking, or what you're proposing in your amendment is to amend the overall town budget number to $1,963,228.
I'm gonna trust
To
you
be,
now.
to be used for the purpose of line 4325 for solid waste cleanup. Is that what your motion is, Betsy?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a motion on the floor to amend Article 2. We're going to raise the number to $1,963,228 with the intent that the additional $3,500 gets added to the sanitation section of the budget, line item 4325 for solid waste cleanup, otherwise known as spring cleanup. All those in favor of said motion?
You need a second, Jeff.
Oh,
Oh, 1 second, I'm sorry.
I had heard Sue say something
Oh.
about it, so I always trust Sue. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your vote card. Any opposed? Yes, have it.
I didn't volunteer to help.
What did you say? I didn't hear that.
The motion passed. Yes, sorry. 14 in favor, 9 opposed. Sorry. Further discussion with regard to the sanitation section before we move on to...
Yeah, I just wanted to, on this new contract that we got with them, over the duration of the contract, for as to what Waste Management offered to us, we've saved approximately $14,000 over the term of the 3 years. And they've also gone to the single-day collection, which is on a Monday. They're getting a dual-service truck that will collect both recycle and mainstream solid waste at the same time. So when you see that happening, don't think they're just throwing it all in one truck and taking it down. And you no longer have to bag, like we used to take all our stuff and have to throw it in big construction bags, because they wouldn't take it. They will take loose trash in your container. So that will save on putting plastic bags into the recycling facility, which will sit there for 100 years before they deteriorate. So it's a pretty good contract that we're able to nail down with them.
We have a discussion on sanitation before we go on.
Next section is our the health. This is pest control, which is mosquitoes, and the health agencies, which are contributions that the town makes for agencies providing services in town. I will note that mosquito spraying was zeroed out because a warrant article to allow the town to vote directly on that item.
I just had a question about that, because I know over the years that is sort of the pendulum on that, I believe has sort of swung back and forth. And I think I missed the select board meeting where that might have been discussed. As a health officer, just curious if there was, what the rationale was. Are we just, why it was in the budget last year and why it's being put to the voters this year?
So the budget last year, if you remember, we actually eliminated mosquito spraying from that budget line item last year, which we had done in prior years. As you correctly pointed out, this has been a back and forth issue in the town. Some years we've done it, some years we haven't, some years we're sprayed, some years we haven't. Again, given the budget situation that we're in, we thought it made sense to leave it up to the town to take a vote on it and see if they wanted to make this a priority or not. Again, we're looking to keep the budget reasonable. It's already up, I think it's about 7%. You know, we didn't want it to be at 10%, 11%, 12%. We carved stuff out of a lot of areas in this that was proposed. This is one of the areas where while we did zero it out, we put it on the warrant, recognizing that some people in town may want to put it out.
And to clarify, Bobby, this amount, the 17,250,
Yeah.
last year what we did was we cut out that 16-ish for the spraying down on Long River, so that's already gone.
Right.
So this treats standing water in town.
Right.
So this is so we cut out the marsh spraying last year, and this is going to treat standing water around town. So just so there's an understanding that this cut is not the same as last year. It's an additional service.
To that point, I don't know if this is the right time to ask you, but since Michael, you brought up it's on the warrant article instead, not to bring up discussion about the warrant article further down, but I feel like it might be too late to bring it up if we wait to do that. On the warrant article, it's not recommended by the select board, and so I'm just pointing out that it seems as if, rather than leaving it up to the voters, the message is being communicated that it's not a recommended expenditure. So I don't know, maybe I should wait till Article 9 is that.
I mean, it's a valid, yeah, it's a valid point. The only thing, I can say from my moderator standpoint is, unless there's a restriction to reconsider a particular warrant article, it doesn't mean that we can't come back and revisit something. So that's it.
I have to, I agree with what the board is doing, and just wanted to enlighten Bobby that mosquitoes that are of the biggest public health threat are freshwater mosquitoes, not the saltwater ones. So that's why they don't transmit anything other than annoyance. And so what we've got so far is good, but so 0, like not even standing water.
That's what the warrant.
That's correct.
Yes.
The warrant article
Would be to
is
standing water.
correct, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
it.
That's all you need.
Yeah, two comments. One, when we first moved to town about 7 years ago, we had little kids and didn't have time to get involved in this, and we're actually really happy to see that there was street side spray at that point for our concern with kids. So one, I guess, how does that's kind of spraying, is that involved with this? Is that a separate piece that's decided to be moved or changed?
So the town hasn't done street spraying in several years. Again, that was a topic that has gone back and forth over the course of the years. And eventually the town basically made a decision that they did not want the street spraying. So we haven't had that, I don't know, how many years? 3 or 4 years maybe, yeah.
Okay. And the second is in regards to the kind of recommendations. It seems that there's different groups that could be providing recommendations based off of their experience or position. So, like from the mosquito side, a health officer having a recommendation from them would be pertinent to that kind of expenditure versus a pure budgetary one, just to make sure you're not going to apply to anything else as far as the stormwater infrastructure and any others. Is there any way that we can, if we're going to put recommendations that would sway people's votes, that we could actually identify the kinds of recommendations? And to me, it seems like the board would be, public opinion and budget, and not sway a health-related one, and having a health expert that could provide that kind of recommendation.
Yeah, so I can speak to that just a little bit from the moderator's side of things. There are specific RSAs with regard to what is and what is not allowed to be put onto the warrant with regard to recommendations, and most of any recommendation that you're going to see on warrant articles are going to be from the Board of Selectmen, given the fact that the town of Newfield is not a budget advisory act town. If we were, you would see recommendations from the Budget Advisory Committee in their determination of whether or not the particular warrant was something they to my knowledge, there's not an ability for, say, a health officer or a fire chief or someone else to make a recommendation that would appear on the warrant.
So then if it's not a budget-based one, which I thought it said we were tasked with finding ways to reduce the budget to be fiscally responsible, then what's the point of the select board's opinion on the warrant articles other than based off of their meetings?
The statute has us vote on these warrants, and that's why individually, I don't think we would care whether it said recommended by the select board or not, but state statute requires us to have a vote on, the select board to have a vote on each of these warrants and provide that information to the voters on the warrants.
Would I be able to make a motion to remove the recommendations of the select boards from all of the warrant articles?
No, they're required by statute to be there.
Yeah, that's a law. I mean, you can make
I
a
said, I
motion.
didn't advise us to be on it, like you said, to take a vote, so.
It's a
It seems like
statutory.
there should be a way for us to figure out a way to convey this that's clear, and especially for people that are heavily involved. A lot of people just vote based off of what the majority is saying, which doesn't seem to be giving the best information to the community.
This is one of the issues that goes back to the discussion about town meeting versus SB2. We're an SB2 town, so we have a deliberative session like this. We're allowed to amend these, and then everybody walks into a voting booth and votes on them. In town meeting, to your point, there would be a far more robust discussion, but the people who end up voting are the people who participate in that discussion. We got rid of town meeting 17 years ago, maybe, and so this is the structure that we're left with. I understand your point, but we're required to operate in this manner given the rules of SB2.
Bobby?
To that point, I would just ask maybe in future years if the select board would consider asking, from my perspective, earlier on in the process, because I would have been happy to provide that for you, whether or not it's an official recommendation that list that appears on the ballot. I would be happy to provide that.
Betsy?
It should be so noted that the company with which you contract is not here to speak, and as far as I know, hasn't shown up for meetings or anything like that. So that, a lot of the pure science, I'm not just going but somebody else could or should and hasn't, so there's a missing planning.
You most certainly
Can I
can.
ask you a question, Betsy? So have you worked for one of these companies in the past? Do you have any
Yes,
knowledge of mosquitoes?
I do.
You do? I just wanted.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not the owner of the company, I'm not,
To be fair, she was at a meeting
I'm,
in the past 6 months, explaining the spraying and what it's about and all that other stuff. So she has
but
an answer to the question.
this is the time to really be.
Bobby, did you?
Yeah, I did just want to say, I continue to get updates from the state about different mosquitoes infected with triple E or film and light mosquito-borne illness. And when I do, I'm happy to share them with the select board to continue to have awareness of the fact that these do exist in surrounding communities. The most recent one I got was a community standing water in Stratton. So it's not like these don't exist in our community, but just the answer is have awareness of them.
Yeah. This has been a thing for as long as I can remember.
Yeah,
being
and I'm-
moderator. And frankly, there's been a packed house of people in here saying the opposite of what you're saying, or you're saying, or you're saying, or whatever. So, this whole thing has been battered back and forth for a long time. And
Just to be clear, I'm not saying anything other than the state has sent me and I'm happy to bring it.
Yeah.
And I'm not even advocating one way or the other.
No. Bobby, look, if you have information you want to, forward to the board. Absolutely. Any other comments on the health section? The next section is the welfare. The welfare line is for direct assistance for people here in town who are in difficult straits. Obie is our welfare officer and administers that. I don't know if you want to make any comments about that line.
This has been a challenging year so far through the fall. We've been active, and we've had the ability to work with some NGOs, non-government organizations that have contacted us and provided resources to supplement what we've been able to provide to some of the folks in town, which has allowed us to maintain some of our resources in case we get really jammed up, such as a week of weather like we had last weekend. We helped out with heat, electric bills, just taking care of the folks in town. So this is a really important aspect of the budget.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That being said, is this enough? I don't know what the.
It's been, I think we're gonna be all right with this amount. Like I said, we've got some resources outside non-government organizations that have provided us with resources and are available for me to tap if we need additional help.
Any other questions on the welfare line? Next section is culture and recreation. This is our parks, library, celebration committee. Any questions about any of those lines? Yeah?
What's the increase in the library?
Carl, the head librarian, is leaving. And this is like the other personnel issues. You know, the town has been blessed over the last X number of years that people have worked here. And Carl was working probably for less than he should have been, given his experience and what he did at the library. We raised this amount basically recognizing that we have to go out and find a new head librarian. Knock on wood, it comes in less than we expected, but we anticipated that we may have to pay up to get somebody to come in as head librarian. Other questions on culture and recreation? Conservation is the next section, that's the Conservation Commission. No questions? Then debt service, and that gets us to the end of the budget. Any other general questions? You can certainly look, at the bottom of page 2 is a 1959 that has been now increased by 3,500. These other warrant articles we'll obviously get into, and then these are the estimated changes on revenue for the town.
Just a question about that odd law about, in my opinion, about saying recommendation by the select board. Am I just to assume that the select board approves Article 2, the budget, or is that just a good? I don't see that language.
Well, actually, the last line says the select board recommends the amount as set forth.
But does that have to say 3 to 0 or 2 to 1?
No, that's a DRA thing, isn't it? Yeah.
That's Department of Revenue.
Yeah, it's the Concord Department of Revenue. The DRA actually reviews every single one of our warrants and recommends changes to language, things that we don't do properly. So, a lot of this does fall out of what their requirements are as well. I'll move the amended town Article 2 then.
I'll second.
Okay. We don't actually have to vote on that.
Oh.
Yeah. If there's no further discussion with regard to Article 2, I'll ask that it be placed onto the ballot as amended. So I'll go ahead and move on to Article 3, re-adopt optional veterans tax credit. Shall the town re-adopt the optional veterans tax credit in accordance with RSA 72:28, Section 2, for an annual tax credit on residential property of $500. Recommended by Select Board 3-0, majority vote required. Sue, if you want to...
Sure. So, currently, Newfields has adopted the optional veterans tax credit in the amount of $500. The optional credit is for veterans who have served during a time of conflict. And this readoption would allow active duty military to be eligible for the exemption.
Susan?
Yeah.
Was it because the language got updated for like, it sounds like it's more inclusive,
It is, yes.
but why does readopting it enable it to be more inclusive?
Well, it gives you the opportunity to change it at the same time if you wanted to even, not that you would ever decrease it, but increase it.
Okay.
Because it can be increased up to $750, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, sir?
Just for clarity's sake, that's 500 per residence as opposed to $500 total.
Per veteran.
Per
Per
veteran.
veteran. Okay, this wasn't in there, so this wasn't
Do we have the option to raise the amount of credit? How do we do that?
There's a process that I don't think it's,
Yeah, you
Not
have,
here, but.
yeah.
you can do it, there's a way you have to re-adopt it. I mean, I don't know if we could just make it an amendment. I don't know.
I remember at something years and years ago, and there was a series of hearings, I thought.
I'm just missing, am I missing the total amount of money veterans or Newfields? How much that comes to for?
Typically, there's a little, 120 veterans in town. What we usually do, it's somewhat on the order of, because not every one of them applies for the credit, correct? Or do they all get it
No.
automatically?
No, everyone, yeah, you have to apply, but most everyone has applied.
It runs the town, what, about $40,000 a
I think
year?
it's 45, 50.
Yeah, I mean, typically our adjustment at the end of the year tax rate has typically been about $50,000 a year, which is really reflecting the offset from the credits provided to veterans. It's kind of been more or less of what our baseline has been year to year. So it's in that ballpark of a number.
Any other questions with regard to Article 3?
Sorry, just one other question.
Sure, of course, I apologize.
Is any of this helpful to include in this wording so that people in the town can understand how much this total is? I mean, I'm in support of it, but I'm more familiar with, is that per household, is that total? What's the total impact on the town and the taxes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody on the select board has input with regard to that, but the warrant articles are sort of, as Michael stated, reviewed by the Department of Revenue Administration, and there's language that can and can't be included in the warrant article, and I'm not sure adding in the number of veterans and what the potential cost to the town would be something that the DRA would go along with. I don't know. Does any of the board of selectmen
We originally had this written differently to say it would allow active duty military to become eligible, and they told us we had to change it and put in the standard language.
No, actually, how many active duty military members do we have in town, do you know?
Oh, I don't know.
Because that's an interesting point, right? If we expand it to active duty, that could be a bigger pool, I'm not sure.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm just piggybacking on your comment. It's a good question, but I don't know that it's something that we can.
As we're talking about the impact of cost, $500 there seems pretty cheap, but if it's $50,000, then us saving $1,000 a month really is not a whole lot.
Right.
Yeah, so I pulled up the RSA on this today, and Section 4, a person shall qualify for veterans tax credit resident of the state is a veteran. And then it goes on to say, who continues to serve or was honorably separated. So continuing to serve, and it also includes the National Guard and the Air Guard. So it does make provision for active duty.
So is there any way to add that in, or is that, you said you already tried a different wording and they...
There was more extensive wording, and the DRA required us, basically send it back with this wording, saying this is what the warrant article needs to look like. Again, this goes to the issue that you raised earlier, right? Which is, it would be great if we were doing town meeting because we could talk about this and everybody could be more fully informed. I can only suggest talk to people in town about it. If you think it's important, talk to people about it before they walk into the voting room.
So the other thing I would say from the moderator's standpoint, you know, first and foremost, this is the meeting of the body that's here. So you have the ability to amend warrant articles as they're put forth on this warrant. That said, when certain items, such as what we discussed earlier with budget, the RSAs sort of allow and don't allow for amendments to take place. So one of the big no-nos on amending articles is to say change up the subject matter of the article. So, you know, whether you add language, if you wanted to put forth a motion to put into that Article 3, and if it were, you know, voted on an affirmative and it ended up on the warrant and it got put on the ballot, the only potential I would say is if for some reason DRA rejected the warrant after the vote, in which case we would have to go back through the process to deal with it.
I have a question for you, Sue. Sorry.
No, I have a question on that too, but go ahead.
What happens if we don't re-adopt it? Does it return back to the prior, because
No.
we're adopting the new RSA, right? So if it doesn't pass and it's not adopted, do residents no longer have access to that tax credit?
I think it goes back to the $50 standing credit. They did send paperwork on that. So we want to re-adopt. I don't know why anyone wouldn't vote in favor of this.
No, but it just to, you know, to Brian's point, like if it didn't get re-adopted, then that means that it's, you know, it reverts back.
Hang on a second.
So, let me ask the question this way. If we were to amend this, and the body said, this is how we want the wording of the warrant article, and DRA says, no, you can't have that, then does the warrant article automatically revert back? Because the body hasn't voted to revert it back. Or does it get struck from the warrant because it's no longer language that DRA allows? I don't know either. I don't.
We'll gladly put it in the minutes, how much money it costs us, and if anyone reads those.
That would be, and I don't know the answer to this, and that would be my concern, is that DRA says, this you cannot do this, but since the body amended it and hasn't amended it back to the original language, does it end up on the warrant at all? Does it end up on the ballot at all?
I think, hang on one second, please. I'm trying to think through this. I believe, that's a good question, Michael. I'm not 100% certain on
I don't know either.
from the result of this meeting. It would have to end up on the ballot. It would be a matter of whether or not it would ultimately be an article that would have passed. I'm not sure. Tom, and then I'll get you, Bobby.
Just to clarify, what we were starting to explain with the RSA states, you know, that it does go back to $50 according to the RSA. It can range anywhere from 51 up to 750, as Sue said. So this doesn't necessarily cost taxpayers money. It's a credit to the veterans. tax bill.
Yes.
So I guess the point of it, nobody would really vote against this. If it's a matter of what the figure should be, I think, laying within the statute as required, within that parameter of 51 to 750 or 500, very reasonable to come up with this. I don't understand why it's not a.
I think it was just a matter of what the potential cost could be, I think, is what I heard, and I'm not certain that that's.
It's potential credit to a veteran, and if there's 120 in town,
That's effectively though, that many less revenue to the town, right? So it's affecting the budget. I agree with you.
Sure.
I hear you, John. Yeah. Bobby?
Yeah, just, this all powerful DRA. To that point, any amendments that we make tonight, immaterial or not, does the DRA re-review all of them?
Yep.
Okay, so that was the point. Even if it's just a number, they do review. Thank you.
We have the paperwork right here. If we don't re-adopt this, it'll go back to the standard veterans tax credit of $50.
Well, that's the optional, if we don't do the optional veterans tax
It's for
credit,
both, but,
and then,
and the all veterans credit is the next warrant article. That's for all other veterans who served, but it may not have been during a time of conflict.
So any more discussion on Article 3, and then I'll quickly read Article 4, which is obviously similar in subject matter. So Article 4, to re-adopt all veterans tax credit, shall the town re-adopt the all veterans tax credit in accordance with RSA 72:28-B for an annual tax credit on residential property which shall be equal to the same amount as the standard or optional veterans tax credit voted by the town of Newfields under RSA 72:28. Recommended by select board 3-0, majority vote required. So I think as you just stated, this sort of encompasses those who may not have served actively, is that, or?
Did not
So-
serve during a time of conflict. Right, there wasn't a war going on, they just served. Before they weren't eligible, but until they came up with this all veterans tax credit.
Any questions with regard to Article 4? I'm going to ask that both Article 3 and 4 be put onto the ballot as read. Article 5, future purchase of fire truck. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum $50,000 to be added to the fire truck capital reserve fund previously established for the future purchase of a new fire truck, to be funded by $50,000 from the December 31st, 2022 fund balance. No money to be raised by taxation. Recommended by select board 3-0, majority vote required. Chief, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, most of you are familiar with this. It's an article we've had for many, many years in the town of Newfields. This is just to raise funds for the future purchase of the fire truck, which the department happens to be in the process right now of speccing of a new truck, which will take probably about a year. We're hoping to be able to talk to the selectmen about possibly presenting this in the next year, for next year's town meeting.
Buying the new truck, sorry?
Yes. So currently, right now, it takes about a year to spec one out, and it's gonna take another 2 years plus to get it. One of the big issues is this is probably gonna put us in the range of about $520,000 saved at this current point in time. Over the last 2 years, fire trucks have increased by 62%. So a lot of you guys remember me saying a lot of years over here that it's gonna be about 600,000, probably for a new fire truck. It's gonna be more in the line of 800 to 850,000. And the lead times are outrageous. So, in the next couple of years, we'll be trying to work with the selectmen and try to figure out how we can go out and get this. Currently, our oldest truck now is 36 years old. Our second in the line is going on 26 years old, and our newest truck now is 14 years old. The plan with our department has been increasing in size over the years, is to drop 2 trucks and get 1 truck. So we'll have 2 trucks and two Class A trucks in the station. We'll drop the third extra truck, which kind of uses the reserve. We just don't have the personnel demand and everything now, so that's the plan. We're working on it, and we'll work with the selectmen over the next, at the end of next year, to try to come up with a plan. How far we are behind and how we're gonna do it.
Lottery tickets.
Jeff, what's your balance now?
With this 50,000 in here, we'll probably be right around, I believe it's 520. You know, as I say, it's 2 years to get a truck, so, you know, you're talking another 100 on that, so it's 620. The manufacturers are doing some pretty neat little things, because everybody's in the same shape. They can't, most of them will not give you a price. They can't give you a price, but they'll give you a ballpark, and they're working with you on whether it's lease purchase the rest, or finance the rest, or that type of thing. But, you know, it's taken us 3 years, you know, that puts our second line piece, you know, we're supposed to have 2 Class A pumps for ISO at 30 years old. I mean, at 28 years old, that's 2, you know, that's 3 years over what it's supposed to be at the most. I mean, ideally, if you go by FBA, it's 12 and 14 years, we've already exceeded that with everything.
Question? Bobby?
I have no experience buying a fire truck, so this may be a silly question. but these articles say buying a new fire truck. Is there ever any reality to buying like a gently used fire truck, or is it or is it safest to do that? I mean, that's what I'm asking.
You know, quite a few years ago, we had the selectmen change the wording of our warrant article to be the selectmen are agents of the warrant article, because sometimes there are available demos that come out. You're not going to find a used fire truck unless, you know, none of these fire stations go out of business, you know, so when they're used, they're well used, and they're old. But sometimes a demo comes along, and, you know, you can say, just because they've driven it across the country showing it, you can save $50 or $60 or $70,000. So that's a possibility, it's an option. If they come about and it fits our need, and, you know, something we look at. And we had changed that article because, you know, when we purchased our engine 3, but our engine 1, we could have, back then, engine 1 cost us about $380,000. And we had one come by that was exactly what we wanted in a demo, and we could have got that for about $300,000, but we didn't have the option because it had to go for a vote for the town. So yes, there are some available out there. They do come available at times, but not as discounted as they used to be.
But I guess, so does this language restrict us from doing that, like new to us?
So, as Chief mentioned, several years ago, instead of the town body being the agent of this fund, the select board was made agent in order to affect something comes up in August that makes sense for the fire department to jump on. The select board can actually approve that without waiting till March for a vote of the body.
And we'd explore all options when it comes time.
I was going to say, I don't think this restricts in any way the new use or otherwise option that you have.
Yeah, this is not for any, this isn't purchase language. This is just taking $50,000 to go into the capital reserve.
Yes, sir.
To clarify Chief's comments, we're a little more in the hole. We have 432,000 in fire truck reserve fund as of January 1.
432?
432, yeah. I was talking with this 52, so we're getting close to
Any other questions with regard to Article 5? 5 be moved to the ballot as read. Article 6, Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,000 to be added to the Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, previously established? Recommended by the Select Board 3-0, majority vote required. Chief, you want to give a quick explanation on this one?
Yeah, this is another fund this was put together about probably 8 to 10 years ago. Again, a capital for major purchases, not excluding the truck, air packs, radios, you know, that type of stuff that it comes about every 8 to 12 years. That you know, could be a large expense to the town. I think our last purchase of air packs was about $140,000. The radios that we get in, work with the police on last time was about $120,000. Some jaws that we replaced recently were like $45,000. So it's any major expenditures that we're planning in the next 8 to 10 years.
Questions? All right, I'll ask that Article 6 be moved to the ballot as read. Article 7, 175th Town Celebration. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for the 175th Town Celebration festivities to be placed in an expendable trust fund with the Select Board as agents to expend from such fund. Recommended by the Select Board 3-0, majority vote required. And Amy, would you like to speak to this?
So this is the second year in a row that we've done the same warrant article in preparation for next year's Memorial Day celebration, where we would add this $10,000 to our normal Memorial Day budget to do something special. I'd love to get more information on that, but that is still in the works. So, as we plan out and look at what other towns have done, we hope to use this money to go towards that town event.
And that's held next year, correct?
Yes. We go back.
I don't remember like what? Same. Like it's 2020.
I've been planning 50 years, thinking about it.
1849.
I know. She has a poster from the last 25 years ago. What is it? Pull it out to make sure. So, yes, it's next year.
Any questions with regard to Article 7? Being none, I'll ask that Article 7 be moved to the ballot as read. Article 8, runoff collection and treatment rain gardens. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $31,200 for the construction of rain gardens for runoff collection and treatment at the Town Hall and Hall Memorial Library, to be funded by up to $8,700 in loans from the New Hampshire Clean Water State Revolving Fund, which may be forgiven, and $22,500 from the December 31st, 2022 fund balance. Recommended by Select Board 3-0. A 3/5 ballot vote is required. And I'll ask Bill Meserve to speak to this again, please.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
This goes back again to this Great Bay General Permit, where through, it's an EPA permit, and they're looking for municipalities to reduce or treat the impervious surfaces. So we started looking into that, and a group that's through New Hampshire DES is called New Hampshire Soak Up the Rain program. You've probably seen them in different locations. Mike and I spent a day with them last summer, hitting holes all over the library here. And from an engineering perspective, I started looking at it. How can we use this to solve a problem? Because right here, there's like gutters that come down the back of the building, causes icing, and then it just flows down on some of the properties down below. So the plan for here, what we worked out was all the flows from the back of the building would get collected and get infiltrated out of the side. Then there's a couple of downspouts here that would go down to somewhere out front, probably the right-hand side of the walkway. Strange things that I do is I drive around with my stormwater. And there are times when this side, it ices up the parking lot. So we're trying to solve that problem. So we solve the problem, make it safer, stop using as much salt, and get some credits on treating our surfaces. So then we looked at the library, and I was amazed that the library has a lot of, I guess, water in the basement. I met with Carl. It seems like it's a concern. They put the new parking lot over there. If you look at it, it just looks like they send, most of the water just goes into the building, into the basement. So this, when we did some conceptuals, it would be to try to correct some of that water damage, the flooding that goes on in the basement. I didn't see the water in the basement, but you can look at it and see over it. A lot of the downspouts, everything comes off the roof, and must go in the basement. So we again, we worked with New Hampshire Salt at the Rain. They were very excited about this. Carl was excited about it. They want to, New Hampshire Salt at the Rain, they want to turn this into an educational, on rain gardens. We worked with, we met with the Garden Club on both projects. One of the things as far as how elaborate we want to make the gardens is really up to, whoever's going to probably take care of this. You could just make these, just put landscape stuff on that. If you wanted to make it more elaborate, you can do that. And I think we could probably get the funding for making it more, better looking. And I think we've got a great garden club. I think we make for some solution look really good. That's that.
Very good. Any questions with regard to Article 8? Okay.
Just a process question. What requires the 3/5 ballot vote versus not? Is that when you're using the unrestricted funds? Or?
No, technically, the money that we're getting from the state revolving fund is a loan that as long as we use it properly as they construe, they'll forgive the loan. But because it is a loan, 3/5.
Any other questions with regard to Article 8? Being none, I'm going to ask that Article 8 be moved to the ballot as read. Article 9, larvicidal mosquitoes. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $18,000 for the purpose of mosquito control by town-wide larvicide services? Treatment of standing bodies of water. Not recommended by Select Board 1 to 2. Majority vote required. Who wants to speak to this?
I think that we've talked quite a bit about this already. This is the warrant article giving the town the option to put this money back in the budget. I think it kind of speaks for, goes back to the discussion that we had prior.
Any questions with regard to Article 9? I will ask Article 9 be moved to the ballot as read. Article 10, repair of town hall stairs. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,500 for the purpose of repairing the sidewalk and stairs at the town hall? Recommended by Select Board 2 to 1, majority vote required. Jackie, did you want to speak to this?
Anybody who's walked up those stairs know that they're icy and they're, unsafe. So we're hoping to raise that money in order to make those stairs safer, make sure, and hopefully working with the rain gardens project to make sure that those stairs are level and safe for residents to come up from the parking lot.
Is that for all the walls, or just the stairway going to the parking lot?
It's just the stairway, and that number is based on the only bid that we received for the work. We did receive another bid.
I know, because we priced it years ago, and it seemed like it was a lot more than that.
You did what, I'm
We
sorry?
priced it out years ago, and we had a lot, in those stairs, and it was considerably higher than that.
Yeah, it's not all the walks, it's basically, you know, basically the top of the walk above the steps, and then the steps where, you know, the steps are basically dropping right before the granite piece, so.
So I was the person who voted against this, and the reason I voted against it, before I go there, I spent my whole professional career dealing in safety. I agree that the steps need to be repaired. I voted against it because we only had one bid, a single source. And so I did some legwork and came up with another source from Rye Beach, which is about half the price to replace, put a substantial crushed stone basin, landscape fabric, and rebuild the tread part of the steps themselves. And so that was the reason I voted against it. I want the steps fixed. I don't want anybody getting hurt on it. But I think that the price we got for what they were going to do was excessive, especially in this budget time.
We're not going to be stuck with their bid, right? We're gonna go on.
We haven't accepted any bid yet.
That's right. So that was my logic behind it, single bid, you know, because I wanted to maintain it, and I don't think we need to spend that kind of money on it. We can get it maintained. They're saying 9 to 10 years easy before it needs to be readjusted again, unless there's some exceptional flooding comes through and does damage to it. But in this time, these budget times where people are working to put food on the table and tax bills, that's the reason I voted against that amount there. I fully support getting the steps fixed.
So the word means not to exceed 10,000, right?
Correct. It basically says we have up to that amount of money. If the town supports the warrant, if we spend less, all the better. It'll end up in undesignated reserve fund balance.
Bill, Joe?
Just, you know, when we were out there with New Hampshire South on the rain people, they commented that probably why the steps are deteriorating because there's so much flow going in. So I think we do the rain guard is going to help correct that.
Yeah. One of the things that I think you mentioned that last week, was running culvert underneath it. Yeah. And I talked to Rye Beach, who was the other three that came in, and they said, what do you need to do to meet that rain guard thing would be amenable to.
Any other questions with regard to Article 10? I will ask that Article 10 be moved to the ballot as read. Anyone have any other thing, any other item that they would like to bring before this body before we adjourn this meeting tonight? Going once? Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.